You want to use Next.Js, and that is awesome. But there are some game-changing features a lot of developers might overlook. My name is Toby. I'm a web developer since a couple of years, and I will show you the best practices that I stumbled upon in my journey of developing with Next.Js. And we want to start with some obvious best practices. And the first thing is use the app router. Using the app router is very, very good because the pages router is, I would say outdated. I mean, it's not really outdated. You can still use it and it's working and it's supported. But I would suggest you, if you learn Next.js or if you use Next.js, try to always stick to the app router because the documentation there is just better. It's clearer. It's, for me, easier. I know for people that use pages router is, of course, not easier, but I will tell you, use the app router. It has more benefits. And you can see here, I'm in a project called Vaki, and I'm using the app router. So you usually see that if you have this app directory or don't see any pages directory, and then you know, okay, this is an app router project. That's already, the first obvious best practice. And the next obvious best practice I would say is use TypeScript. We always had this debate, TypeScript versus JavaScript, what is better? And I don't want to say that JavaScript is bad. JavaScript can be very fast, or developing with it can be very fast, but TypeScript has some benefits. It's making your project more reliable. And if you look here, I have drizzleconfig.ts, middleware.ts, and the tsconfig even. And I would just suggest you use TypeScript. It has more benefits. And even if you work in a team, you just make your app more reliable and have less problems. But if you're just designing a very, very simple project or you want to accomplish things very, very fast, okay, you can stick with JavaScript. But in 90%, or I would even say 95, 99% of all cases, just use TypeScript. And that's my next best practice for you. The next thing I want to tell you is don't use useClient when not completely necessary. What do I mean with that? You should outsource those buttons, for example. In this example, you have this button, which is using use form status, and that's why it needs to be useClient. And I don't want to tell you don't use useClient anymore, but I want to tell you, use it wisely. Use it in the components where you really need it and outsource the code when it's needed. So when you have a button, which needs to have an on-click handler, because when we have interactivity, we need to be useClient or we need to be on the client side. And if you have this button, which needs to be client side, don't make the whole component client side. Just take this button, make your own component, for example, this submit button, call it delete button, I don't know, whatever purpose this serves. And then you just have this component, and then you can mark it useClient and let the other component or the main component where you use this delete button, for example, can stay on the server, can stay server side. And this is just improving your search engine optimization. The next obvious best practice is use those things that Next.js gives you. What do I mean with that? I mean images or links. You have, for example, let me jump into this here. You have this image component from NextImage. You have this link component from NextLink, and you don't need to use a or the image tag from HTML. I mean, you can use it, but the next things gives you, it optimizes things for you. The images have lazy loading baked inside and so much functionality, which you don't have to program on your own. And the link component is not refreshing the whole page and just refreshing parts or have caching inside of it. And for example, if we jump in the layout T6, I think I have used fonts here anywhere, I think. Yes, font inter, and where do I specify it? I think on the top. Yes, I'm loading a font inter from Next Font Google. So Next is providing you with Google fonts, and that was a big problem in the EU because what you have to do there is to accept that Google is allowed or that you are allowed to take a request to Google. And this was a problem when loading fonts. So Next is helping you with that. You can just use those features and don't need to do it like you do it in React or other frameworks where you have to do it on your own. No, you have those tools and you can just use it. There are images, links, fonts, and so much more. Maybe I'll make a video about them all. And that was the next obvious best practice. So use those tools. The next thing is not so obvious, and it's about the best practice to use caching or to learn about caching, because caching will be a big thing in the future of Next.js, but you can already use it today. And Next.js, I don't want to lie, is a little bit complex. I don't want to dive very deep into it and just want to give you a little bit of an overview. But if you want to take a deep dive into that, just tell me in the comments and I'll make a video about that. But we have generally spoken those 4 types of memorization or of caching in general in Next.js. We have this request memorization, the data cache, the full route cache, and the router cache. And yeah, what they are doing, the first three on the server and the router cache on the client. Yeah, the router cache is very simple. It just reduces server requests on navigation. So if you navigate between different links, it's just faster. That's very good. But you can jump into that and optimize it. You can have request memorization, so he knows the request and doesn't need to refresh the whole component tree, or you have this full route cache. And what I really want to tell you is to dive a little bit into that and understand how caching works, because there you have possibilities like this unstable cache, which sounds not very stable. I mean, it's called unstable cache, but you can't use it today. And it's really helping you, making your application so much faster, because what caching is generally doing is, yeah, it's just relieving the work from your server or from your application in general. So if you have a web app with a lot of functionality, you want that this web app is fast, that the user have a great user experience, and that you don't need to pay a lot of money for your server, for example. And how can you accomplish that? With good caching. So caching really has a lot of power, but with great power comes great responsibility. So yeah, if you want to see a whole video about that, tell me in the comments and I will make a video about that. The next best practice I want to tell you about is Tailwind. You see already here the Tailwind config.ts. I mean, it's just for a symbol, but use Tailwind. It just has more benefits than using SCSS or CSS or Sass. I know there are a lot of preprocessors out there, or even Bootstrap. I don't know if anybody's still using Bootstrap. But yeah, use Tailwind. Tailwind is so great. It's baked into Next.js. It's very easy to implement it. It's very easy to use. It's faster, so you program faster. I mean, I can show it to you if you have the submit button again, and I have something called class name on top of here, and then I can just type control and enter, and I have all the classes I can use. So for example, a margin top 20, and 20 here is 80 pixels, for example. But I can also hover it, and then you see, yes, margin top 5 rem, which is 80 pixels. And once you have this in your head, you're so much faster. Yeah, but you're not only faster, you also have less files because you don't have the CSS files. I mean, yes, it can bloat up your HTML, and a lot of people don't like that. But if you write clean Tailwind and really optimize it to the end, then it will not bloat up your HTML. I mean, a little bit, but if you can read it and if it's very readable, then it's easy to understand. And yeah, there is no problem with it. For the next thing, we need to create a small component, and let's call it dynamic example.tsx. Just make a quick component out of this. Or I think I can just copy paste it and this is working. I mean, I don't have this path, but I want to talk with you about lazy loading and next dynamic. For example, you want to defer the loading of a modal. So if you want to click a modal, then it's the time to dynamically import this component, which is then loaded. Because in the initial page load, you don't need things that the user can't see. So what you want is to make this dynamic. So you say, okay, dynamic, and import this component, and then you just use this component. A lot of people are not using this, but this can drastically speeding up your application by making the initial page load so much faster. So yeah, your application just feels snappy. Lazy loading is a topic where we really can take a deep dive, I think. So as well as caching, if you want to see that, just write a comment, or just smash the like button, and I make a video about that. And just teaching you how you can do this in a more professional manner. But this is the simple how to do it. And the last thing, we are already at the end, is SEO optimization. I need to scratch my head. Okay, SEO optimization is great. We have a lot of tools in Next.js. So a good best practice from me to you is use those metadata things. If we head over, let's delete this file. We don't need it anymore, but let's just jump into the layout. And you see here, export const metadata. I have specified a lot of metadata for this. Metadata can solve a lot of things for you. But all in all, it strengthens the user experience of your application because more users can use it, for example, with a PWA. So what I do here is to support Apple web app features and just splash screens and all this stuff. So this is, just making use of the things that Next.js gave to me, because otherwise that would be very complex. And if you want to see how to accomplish a nice PWA, then click on the video anywhere here, I don't know. But yeah, there I told you how to accomplish a nice PWA in Next.js. But what else can you do is to use, for example, open graph images. So if you paste a link anywhere, you want that the link is not showing a link, it's also showing an image. So yeah, I think I have an open graph image here, I see, but this is just from a starter kit. I really need to customize that thing. But yeah, that's the open graph image, or the Twitter image. And what you wanted to have is that when you paste a link from your application, you want that there's also an image presented and not only the link. So yeah, that's the last best practice I want to give to you. Use SEO optimization, use metadata, use open graph images. So the whole SEO thing of Next.js. Did I explain what SEO means? It means search engine optimization, but I think a lot of people know what that means. But yeah, if you want to see a video of that, you know how it works, just write down in the comments, and yeah, we see each other in the next video. Bye bye.